Welcome everyone to tonight's council meeting. I'm the Mayor, Councillor Jasmine Nguyen, and I declare this meeting open at 7 p.m. I would like to welcome the members of the public who are viewing tonight's council meeting. The purpose of a council meeting is to conduct the business of council in an orderly and constructive manner. A recording of the meeting will be published on council's website. Please stand for the acknowledgement of country. On behalf of Brimbank City Council, I respectfully acknowledge and recognise the Wurundjeri and Bunurong peoples as the traditional custodians of this land and pay respect to the elders past, present and emerging. Always is, always will be Aboriginal land. And I ask council to remain standing for the council commitment. As the council, we will act in the best interests of the Broombank community and consider the immediate and long-term impacts of our decisions. We will make these decisions fairly and without bias. We will uphold all of our obligations under the laws of Victoria and council's local laws and will act in accordance with our code of conduct. Councillors may now seat. There are no apologies for this evening. And are there any declarations of conflicts of interest?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would like to declare an indirect conflict of interest for report 13.5. I have already notified the CEO.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. That will be noted. And moving on to item 5, which is the declaration of intended candidacy. You may be aware that the 2022 Victorian state election is scheduled to be held on the 26th of November in 2022. In accordance with section 6.2.1 of the conduct during election period policy, which forms part of the Brimbank governance rules, it states that a councillor who is a prospective candidate should declare their intended candidacy at a meeting of council as soon as practical after notifying the Chief Executive Officer. And councillors, please note that these declarations are not motions. The governance rules do not permit debate. Councillors, are there any declarations of intended candidacy? Councillor Kerr?
Yeah, I declare that I will be running as a candidate in the state election for the seat of St Albans.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr, and congratulations on declaring candidacy. Now, item 6, there is one item to be designated as confidential. Can I please get a mover of a motion to designate the item as confidential? Is there a mover? Councillor Borg?
I'll move this item as confidential as per business papers.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Is there a seconder? Councillor Lancashire. Mute. You're on mute, Councillor Lancashire.
Sorry about that, Madam Mayor. I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Councillor Borg, as mover, would you like to say anything?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
And Councillor Lancashire?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other councillors want to speak on this motion? We'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Okay, and may I please have a mover of a motion to confirm the minutes of the previous council meeting? Councillor Tarkos.
I move the motion as per business papers, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And is there a seconder? Councillor David.
Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Tarkos, would you like to speak on this motion? Councillor David. Councillor David.
No, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. We have a councillor to speak on this. If not, I'll put to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Thank you. There is one item of condolences. May I please have a mover of a motion of condolences? Councillor Tarkos.
Madam Mayor, I move the motion for condolence as per business papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. And this is in the passing of Miss Caroline Prince. and extending condolences to the family. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor David.
Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Tarkas and Beaver, would you like to speak on this motion?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. On behalf of all councillors, the executive team and council staff, our deepest condolences to the Prince family for the passing of Carolyn Prince. Carolyn was the wife of long-standing Brimbank staff member Trent Prince. Carolyn was a mother to Madeline and Mitchell. Carolyn Prince passed away on the 7th of July 2022, aged 49. All our thoughts are with the Prince family at this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkas. Councillor David, as seconder, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just like Councillor Tarkas, what you felt about the our officer losing their wife and children as such. It's terrible times, and indeed condolences to the family and all concerned to them. Yeah, it's a hard thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Are there any other councillors want to speak on this motion? I'll now put the motion to vote then. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. And yeah, like really, our thoughts and condolences go to the Prince family. There are no items for congratulations this evening. Mr. Sakurai, I understand we have received questions from the members of the public.
We have, Madam Mayor.
Mhm.
The first question is from Debbie Stefanovsky, who asks, why do Broombank City Council officers refuse to acknowledge that the so-called turnaround at the end of Esmond Street Ardea, which is frequently not being used by council refuse trucks, rather the refuse trucks are reversing back up Esmond Street at times when there are no illegal cars parked in the turnaround, has not been designed appropriately for its purpose, rather encouraging loitering and antisocial behaviour.
So the turnaround at the end of Esmond Street in Idea has been designed for its intended purpose. So the waste trucks reversing up Esmond Street is not the preferred practice. However, on occasions where access to the turnaround area is restricted by parked vehicles, drivers may choose to reverse in a safe and careful manner.
Madam Mayor, the second question is from Daniel Allen, who asks, the Broombank website states we have also developed a plan to further guide a transition to a zero emissions council fleet by 2030. Is that plan publicly available?
The fleet transition plan is not publicly available due to its inclusion of commercially sensitive information.
The second question is, does Brimbank plan on purchasing electric rubbish trucks within the next 8 years, or will they offset the emissions of the existing rubbish truck fleet with other green initiatives?
The fleet transition plan sets out an implementation plan to achieve a fully electrified council fleet by 2030, which is inclusive of council's waste collection vehicles. The timing and nature of specific electric vehicle purchases is subject to council's annual budgetary processes. And at this stage, council is seeking to achieve its target of zero emission council operations by 2030 without reliance on carbon offsets.
The next two questions are from Belinda, Madam Mayor. The first is, will there be any plans in the future to have a community house in Keilor Downs that provides group sessions of activities like the one on Ballarat Road?
At this stage, there are no plans in place for a future community centre in Keilor Downs, the area. However, there are neighbourhood houses which are managed by council, and they will be keen to understand and identify priorities and needs, and collectively explore ways to better support and connect Keilor Downs residents through the Broombank Neighbourhood House Strategic Partnership Agreement. And you may also note that the council is currently constructing the Broombank Aquatic and Wellness Centre in Keilor Downs, which will provide opportunities for a range of community programs and activities based on the local community need, which is in addition to the aquatic and leisure centre facilities on the site. Thank you.
The next question from Belinda, Madam Mayor, is will there be any safe and easy walking tracks in Keilor Downs in the future that residents can feel safe to use and easy to walk without hurting themselves? It doesn't have to be a long walking track, just something close.
Yes, so there are currently walking tracks and circuit paths at Green Gully Reserve, Copernicus Way Reserve, and Singer Avenue Reserve in Keilor Downs. In the 2022/2023 financial year, Council has actually allocated $50,000 to design a new circuit path at Keilor Downs Recreation Reserve, while a new circuit path is being considered as part of a suburban park upgrade that will occur at Odessa Avenue Reserve later this year.
The next two questions, Madam Mayor, are from John Heddich. The first is, when will Brimbank Council finally be open and transparent and release the business case for the 96% resident and ratepayer funded Brimbank Aquatic and Wellness Centre that is a public leisure complex and has a total cost of $60 million?
Yes, so Council has provided regular updates to the community during the planning, design and construction of the Brimbank and Aquatic and Wellness Centre with Council reports since December 2017.
The second question from John Heddich, Madam Mayor, is, with the Sunshine Station Master Plan soon to be released as one of the key documents for the Department of Transport managed Sunshine Transport Precinct, can Brimbank Council advise whether these transport precinct documents are to sit in the Brimbank planning scheme or in some other administrative mechanism?
The state government has not yet confirmed if the master plan or other transport precinct documents will be introduced into the Brimbank planning scheme or any alternative planning administration process.
The next question is from Jamie Ramsey, who asks, why will this council not consider introducing KPIs for councillors given that residents are having to reach out to councillors outside their own ward for assistance due to non-response and dismissal of residents' concerns over local issues?
Well, Division 5 of the Local Government Act 2020 sets out the roles and obligations of the councillor, and it does not set out KPIs for councillors.
The next question is again from Jamie Ramsey, Madam Mayor, who asks, we saw the local state MP for St Albans open the new skate park at Packard Street Reserve despite zero state funding. Is this council playing favouritism towards the ALP in the run-up to the state election?
Yes, open up the new skate park at Packard Reserve in my capacity as a mayor of Brimbank City Council. So invitations to attend this opening were sent to local, federal and state MPs, including state MPs who are not members of the state government.
The next question, Madam Mayor, is from Melinda Meyer, who asks, why are some Brimbank councillors using their Brimbank Council social media pages to promote themselves for the upcoming state elections?
The council has no jurisdiction in the respect of the individual social media pages of councillors.
And that is the last question, Madam Mayor. There are no further questions.
Thank you. So thank you everyone for your questions. We'll now continue on. So there are no petitions for this evening and there are no minutes of delegated committees either. There are 14 officer reports for consideration by council tonight. And council, I wish to advise in the interest of conducting all the business on tonight's agenda, I will not be granted extensions to speaking time this evening. If you have any alternate or omitted motions, please draft this motion and provide them to the government team by email so they can be shared on screen and form part of the meeting. Otherwise, we may have to defer the matter until the motion has been written, allowing the meeting to proceed uninterrupted. We'll now move on to our first officer report. 13.1, planning activity update and delegate decisions, including the planning scheme amendment update. Now I will now invite Ms. Leanne Deans to present this report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report presents to Council the monthly update for June on the status of planning permit applications and decisions made under delegated authority and the status of current planning scheme amendments where Council is the planning authority or where Council has requested the Minister for Planning to progress an amendment. The report includes that during June, 75 new planning permit applications were received and 63 planning permit determinations and 17 subdivision determinations were made. There was also progress on 4 planning scheme amendments during this period. The recommendation is to note the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Deans. Any questions for Ms. Deans, councillors? Any questions? Is there a mover of the motion? Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Is there a seconder? Councillor Kerr. Oh, you are on mute? Mhm.
Of course, I second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Councillor Lancashire is seconder, sorry, as a mover. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And briefly, I think this report shows the level of the heavy workload that the planning department is under. I note that there's of the 4 amendments that are referred to, the correcting anomalies, heritage overlay for sunshine silos, the planning policy framework, and of course the sunshine and St Albans parking overlay are quite seminal pieces of work. And it's also interesting to note in the list of delegated approvals that there was a $30 million data centre approved along Geelong Road in Brooklyn. So there's a lot of interesting things happening strategically and in a statutory sense in our municipality. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Councillor Kerr is seconder. Would you like to speak on this motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors who'd like to speak on this motion? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. And councillors, I've just been notified there's actually a delegated committees minutes report. Can we please go back to the previous item on the committee minutes? This is for the Lead West Joint Delegated Committee. So, yeah, okay. If that's me. Okay, I think we could continue. So on to, oh wait, we have to note that motion to note the delegated minutes. Is there a mover to note these minutes? Thank you. Councillor Tarkos.
I move the report as noted as per business papers, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Dan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second it.
Thank you. Councillor Tarkos, would you like to speak on this motion?
No, thanks, Madam Mayor.
And Councillor Dan is seconder.
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other councillors want to speak on this motion? Now put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. That motion passes. Those committee reports are noted now. Okay, now continuing on back to the next officer report. 13.2, planning compliance activity report. Ms. Deans, would you like to speak in this report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report presents to Council the Planning Compliance Activity Report for the quarter relating to the 1st of April to 30th of June. Council received 115 service requests during this quarter compared to 98 for the previous quarter. The requests for services were located across the municipality and covered a broad range of issues such as contravention of permit conditions, home-based businesses, buildings and works without a planning permit, use of land without a planning permit and illegal signage. During this quarter, 231 requests were resolved and 16 planning infringement notices were issued. The recommendation is to note the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Deans. Councillors, any questions? Okay, is there a mover of a motion, please? Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation.
Councillor Tarkos, I see a hand icon, or do this
Second.
or?
Yeah, I second that recommendation.
Thank you. I think just because let's just use our hands. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak as mover?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Tarkos is seconder. Would you like to speak?
No, thanks, Madam Mayor.
Any other councillors want to speak in this motion? I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. And Ms. Deans, will ask you to speak on the planning scheme amendment, C217 Brim anomalies.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report presents to Council 4 submissions received following a 4-week exhibition of Brimbank Planning Scheme Amendment C217 Brim. Amendment C217 Brim seeks to correct various provisions in the Brimbank Planning Scheme, including mapping and ordnance. The summary of submissions and consideration is shown at attachment 1 to the report. It is proposed that changes are made to the amendment, including removing properties 2 and 24 Stanford Street, Sunshine, and replacing the reference to the road zone category with the new transport zone 2. The recommendation includes to adopt the amendment with the changes mentioned, that the amendment is submitted to the Minister for Planning for approval, and Council advise submitters of its decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Deans. Any questions to raise here? There is a question I see from Councillor Lancashire.
Sorry, that wasn't a request for a question. It was to recommend the officer's recommendation. Sorry about that.
Okay, so I might just, so no questions from councillors? Okay, is there a mover of a motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. As on the shared screen. And is there a seconder? Councillor Borg.
I second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Councillor Lancashire, as the mover, would you like to speak in this motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And briefly, this amendment includes a significant number of corrections that include removing anomalies and redundant provisions. Amendments such as this help to keep our planning scheme relevant and up to date, and do occur on a regular basis. So again, this represents a very good thing to keep our planning law correct, up to date, and I certainly appreciate the hard work of the officers in doing this. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. As a seconder, Councillor Borg, would you like to speak?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I think we just hear that Councillor Papali has joined the meeting. Councillor Papali, can you please state your name? I might need to check your audio and visuals.
Yes, Councillor Papalia. Thank you.
Councillors, can we all hear her and see her? Okay.
My apologies, I'm late, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Great. Sorry. Okay, so we're just on the motion on 13.3, the planning scheme amendment C217 for 217 for anomalies. Okay. And so are there any councillors want to speak on this motion? Okay, I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to another planning matter. Ms. Deans, this is on the amendment C216 Brim exhibition parking overlay for Sunshine and St Albans.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report presents to Council 4 submissions received following a 4-week exhibition of Brimbank Planning Scheme Amendment 216 Brim. Amendment 216 Brim seeks to introduce the parking overlay into the Brimbank Planning Scheme and apply 2 new schedules shown at attachments 5 and 6 to land within the Sunshine Metropolitan Activity Centre and St Albans Major Activity Centre, as well as make changes to local planning policy to support the overlay. The summary of submissions and consideration is shown at attachment 1 to the report. There are no objecting submissions and there are no changes required to the amendment. Therefore, the recommendation is to adopt the amendment, submit it to the Minister for Planning for approval, and advise submitters of Council's decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Deans. Any questions from councillors? No questions. Is there a mover of a motion? Councillor Borg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the motion as per business papers.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Is there a seconder? Councillor Lancashire. Councillor Lancashire.
Sorry. Yes, move the officer's recommendation. Second that.
Thank you. Councillor Borg, as the mover, would you like to speak on this motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. The exhibition of this amendment is a statutory declaration requirement. This amendment was exhibited between the 17th of March 2022 and the 18th of April 2022. 4 submissions were received and 2 of them have been withdrawn. Correspondence from the EPA advised they would not put in a submission suggesting that there is no objection. A submission from Workplace Victoria also advised they had no objection. Considering there are no submissions requesting changes to the amendment, it is recommended that Council adopt the amendment as exhibited and submit the amendment to the Minister for approval. I commend this report to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Ball. Councillor Lancashire as seconder, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to support the words put forward by Councillor Borg. The issue of parking in Sunshine and St Albans has been one that has consumed councillors for a number of years now. And the amount of work that the officers have had to put in to look at the complexity of these parking issues is significant. And it is excellent to see that this is now, in our term, coming to fruition as a planning scheme amendment. It is noted that it does not deal with the issue of public car parking, permits or parking on residential land. However, in terms of planning applications, it has a significant input into how we deal with these things. So again, congratulations to the staff in the work, the massive amount of work that has gone into all of this, and it is great to see it coming to a conclusion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Are there any councillors like to speak in this report or motion? Okay, I'll now put to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. The motion carries. Now we'll now move on to 13.5, the planning application for P397/2020 for 21 Honey Eater Crescent in Taylor's Lakes. Steens, would you like to speak on this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report presents to Council an assessment of planning permit application P397/2021 for 21 Honey Eater Crescent, Taylor's Lakes. This application seeks approval for the construction of 3 double-storey dwellings in place of an existing single-storey dwelling on the site. Our council received objections from 29 different people to the proposal, with a number of issues raised, including traffic and parking impact, neighbourhood character, and the impact on the amenity on the adjoining properties. A detailed assessment of the application is shown at attachment 4 to the report. The proposal complies with almost all requirements of the Brimbank planning scheme, and where it doesn't comply, conditions of permit are provided to ensure compliance. It is recommended that the application be supported and that a notice of decision to grant a planning permit be issued subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Steens. Any questions for Ms. Steens on this report? Councillor Borg, as you have declared a conflict of interest in relation to this report, I'll ask officers to place you in the holding bay for the consideration of this item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, all good. Right, that's done. All right, is there a move over motion? Councillor Kerr. You are on mute, Councillor Kerr.
Got to get back used to Zoom. Please note it's my intention to move the following alternative amended motion that Council resolves to refuse application P397/2020 as per the shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's good. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Tarkos.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I second the amended motion as per shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you. So, all right, we'll now be debating this motion. Councillor Kura, as the mover of the motion, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The first point I'd like to make is that the proposal does not respect the neighbourhood character. A lot of families in this area bought these homes for the reason of having a large block and a suburban life. The second point I'd like to make is that it does not satisfy the objectives and requirements and assessment guidelines in clause 55. Thirdly, the proposal will result in unreasonable impacts on the traffic safety of the area, which is of my utmost concern. I feel that this development will not project the neighbourhood character that was intended for this area. So I really urge my fellow councillors to listen to resident concerns and support this motion on behalf of the local community. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Tarkos is seconder. Would you like to speak?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to echo what Councillor Kerr said. I attended the planning forum and I heard from the applicant and I heard from the objectors and the residents, and understand that significant amendments have been made, however, and conditions. However, listening to the residents' objections and reading them, I believe this to be an overdevelopment of a corner site. It doesn't offer diversity either. You look at the height and the bulk, how is anyone with disabilities or an older person supposed to, have an option amongst what's been built there? The height, the mass encroaches and minimises not just daylight privacy, but visitor parking overflow, which is a massive issue due to the density. I'm not against development as such, but it has to be done right. The 3 double-storey dwellings replacing one single dwelling is, in my view, an overdevelopment, does not offer diversity of housing, and is a more accessible plan offering diversity that should be considered. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Are there any councillors who would like to speak in this motion? And I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All those against the motion, please raise your hand. Okay, based on the majority here, that motion does not carry. Is there a lever of a motion, as that motion did not carry? Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Branton.
Yep, I second it.
Thank you. As the mover of the motion, Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak in this motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to say that, look, I do appreciate the applicant and the objectors providing that information to us on the planning forum. It was very valuable for all of us. The detailed officer's report. This application, I also understand that the officers had required amendments to be made, and most importantly for me, that the applicant had made those amendments and then re-advertised the application. Of course, I do appreciate, and we often do see these particular types of development cropping up on corner sites. Corner sites lend themselves to further redevelopment more so than in-depth blocks. Each of the units has a garage and a car space in front, and there is an opportunity for limited car parking in the street as well. So on that basis, I'm supporting the application. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wankisha. Councillor Brenton is seconded. Would you like to speak?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any councillors who want to speak on this motion? Okay. I'll now put the motion to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All those against the motion, please raise your hand. It's the majority.
Madam Mayor, can I ask for a division, please?
Okay, all those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. Councillor David, Councillor Dan, Councillor Lancashire, Councillor Branton, Councillor Papali, Councillor Liu. All those against the motion, please raise your hand. Councillor Rashid, Councillor Tarkas, and Councillor Kerr. That motion carries. Now moving on to the next report. This is 13.6, the return of supplementary valuations for 2021-2022. Mr. Shane Ma, I'll ask you to present this report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider the supplementary valuations carried out between the 1st of July 2021 and the 30th of June 2022 in accordance with the Valuation of Land Act. When a property has undergone a change that affects the property's value, a supplementary valuation is required. These changes are caused principally by the creation of new lots by subdivision, building construction or demolitions, or the consolidation of property. It is recommended that Council adopts the supplementary valuations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ma. Any questions from councillors? No questions. Is there a mover of a motion? Okay. Mr. Sakurai, wait a second. Are we missing a councillor?
Madam Mayor, yes. Can we please have the authority to bring Councillor Borg back on?
Yes, please bring back Councillor Borg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Hi, Councillor Borg. We'll just ask you to state your name so we check your audio. Welcome back. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. We just have to check your audio. That's why. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Councillor Victoria Borg.
Can everyone hear her? Okay, that's good. All right, so Councillor Borg, we were just about to discuss the next item, which is 13.6, the return of supplementary valuations for 2021-2022. Mr. Ma just spoke to it and there were no questions raised unless you have any.
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All right, so councillors, is there a mover of a motion? Councillor Borg.
I'll move the motion as per business papers.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Is there a seconder? Councillor Papalia.
Yes, I second the motion.
Thanks, Councillor Papalia. Councillor Borg, as the mover, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is a statutory requirement. According to the Amendment Valuation Act, the Valuer General is the only valuation authority for the delivery of valuations for the purposes of Council's rates. This report shows that property development continues to grow with an additional 378 rateable assessments. The development of commercial and industrial sector has slightly decreased with 92 less properties. Vacant land properties have increased by 297, and there is also an increase in commercial, industrial vacant land properties by 97. I commend this report to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Councillor Papalia, as a seconder, would you like to speak?
No, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Papalia. Would any other councillors like to speak on this motion? I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Ma will ask you to stay on to speak on the next report, the return of general valuation for 2022.
Sorry, I was on mute too. Thank you, Madam Mayor again. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider the general valuation 2022 for all rateable and non-rateable properties within Brimbank. The general valuation was undertaken in accordance with the requirements of the Valuation of Land Act and also the Local Government Act. The general valuation process was undertaken in accordance with the Valuation Best Practice Guidelines. It is recommended that Council adopts the return of the general valuation 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ma. Any questions for Mr. Ma, councillors? There are none. Is there a mover of a motion? Councillor Tarkos.
I move the motion as per business papers, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Is there a seconder? Councillor Kerr.
I second the motion as per the business papers.
Thank you. Councillor Tarkos as the mover, would you like to speak on this motion?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a few words. It's interesting to note that most of the growth in Brimbank, there's been an increase of 707 properties, is happening through growth of subdivisions, as Brimbank, as we know, does not have greenfields like other growth municipalities. A lot of it is through intensification. So we are growing upwards. CIV, or capital improved value in Brimbank, I note has grown by 13.02%. However, an important note is that despite any increases in property values, whether it's by capital improved value, site value, or net annual value, Council does not collect more rate revenue as a result of reevaluation. Rates are only redistributed according to the shifts in property values across the municipality. This is something that took me a while to get my mind around as a councillor, because the conception was that we somehow get more rates. So rates are only redistributed according to the shifts in property values across the municipality, and only if a property has increased by a greater percentage than the average increase in property value, will the owner pay a percentage above the rates, or vice versa. For a smaller decrease, will pay lower rates. So I support this report for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr, would you like to speak as seconder?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Would any other councillor like to speak on this motion? Now put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Thank you. I'll now move on to the next report. Thanks, Mr. Ma. Mr. Julian Sakurai, I'll ask you to speak on 13.8, the governance report for July 2022.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the standing governance report presented to Council every month, which provides a summary of recent governance activity. There are a number of items for Council to note in this month's governance report, and a number of decisions for Council to make, specifically in relation to virtual Council meetings, payment of community panel members, as well as a submission to the Victorian Government's proposed social and affordable housing compact. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sakurai. Are there any questions on this report, councillors? No questions. Is there a mover of a motion, please? Councillor Tarkos.
Mayor, happy to move the motion as per business papers.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second it.
Thank you. Councillor Tarkos says the mover, would you like to speak on this motion?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'd like to endorse the governance report, as well as the inclusion of the social and affordable housing compact submission by Council July 22. There is no doubt in my mind that right now we are on the precipice of a housing affordability crisis for both residential and rentals. My own experience in the rental market has seen hundreds of people applying for one single property, priced out, and indeed running out of options is a reality for a lot of people in Brimbank at the moment. This is an urgent need we need to look at how we will fill the 4,000 home shortfall that exists in Brimbank at the moment. This needs to be prioritised. An audit needs to be taken, and we need to look at all options, and as listed, including possible council assets as well to be included in those options. However, I also wanted to stress that council needs to be involved in the planning process all along the way. There needs to be a greater level of transparency and engagement with our community around any big housing build projects that are developed, as well as working with the councils to improve the quality of any big build applications for development. The whole community matters when planning any type of housing diversity to ensure access to services and quality of life for all, and not done in a haphazard manner. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Madam Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak as seconder?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Now, councillor speak on this report or motion? I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. And next one. So, Mr. Sacco, would you like to please speak on the advocacy update for July 2022?
I would love to. Thank you, Madam Mayor. The advocacy report, Madam Mayor, updates Council on last month's 28th National General Assembly of the Australian Local Government Association, as well as the 2022 State Council meeting of the Municipal Association of Victoria. There are several delegates' reports to both conferences attached to the advocacy report this month as well. The report also outlines a recommended approach to advocating for an outdoor 25-metre pool at the Brimbank Aquatic and Wellness Centre, and highlights Council's concerns regarding the Victorian Government's Building, Planning and Heritage Legislation Amendment Bill 2022 that is currently before the State Parliament. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sakurai. Councillors, any questions? No questions. Is there a councillor who would like to move a motion? Councillor Tarkos.
I move the motion as per business papers, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Mapalia.
I second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tarkos, as the mover, would you like to speak in this motion?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I was very honoured to attend the ALGA conference in Canberra along with yourself and the three officers and our CEO. I was pleased to say that most of our notices of motions were adopted, but due to running out of time, they were the ones that there was a certain amount that were delayed and that would be considered by the ALGA board. I applaud our council for being, very strong in its anti-gambling and also the airport. We had the opportunity to speak to several councils regarding the harms of like the third runways and the noise impacts. And I'm proud to say that our council is really leading the way. Thanks to you, Madam Mayor, for putting that submission forward. I applaud the council also for continuing its strong advocacy for the outside pool for St Albans, but also that it seeks broader funding for sunshine as well as sports facilities across Brimbank. We have a new federal government, which is great, and we should be continuing to advocate strongly to all levels to partner with council to ensure that our facilities are not being solely funded solely by ratepayers, and that council, as ALGA has raised at the state conference, a lot of governments are now cost shifting services to councils. So we cannot shoulder both that and construction costs. So at some stage, we need to partner with state and federal. And we can see that when projects are delivered in partnerships, we get a better quality of that project as well. So I'd like to endorse this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos, and Councillor Papali, a seconder, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also endorse this report to council. I think the advocacy done this year has been fantastic, and it's really pleasing to see, one, that the pools and box almost finished, but also that we are now starting to look at that outdoor pool and advocate for some funding there. It's also really pleasing to see the work that's being done for Melbourne Airport, and also seeing that we, as Virginia said, Councillor Tarkos said, we are leading the way in that space. It's really good to know. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Papalia. Are there any other councillors like to speak on this motion? Councillor Lancashire. On mute.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And very briefly, I'd like to support the comments put forward by Councillor Tarkos and Councillor Papalia. It is very important for councils like Brimbank to make sure that we build up a stock of shovel-ready projects, and the 10-metre pool as a funding option for government is certainly one of those worthwhile projects. As has been mentioned, our own major pool is now nearing completion. The land is set aside, parking, everything's ready for that sort of development to go ahead if we get the funding. So that and other ideas that council may have in terms of getting shovel-ready projects for possible grant opportunities is something that we certainly are doing, and I would encourage to continue to do. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Any other councillors want to speak in this motion? Councillor Dang.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had an opportunity to attend the MIV State Council meeting in June with our CEO, Fiona Blair, and also Acting Director, Rebecca Solomon. And all four motion from the Brimbank was carried, with the two motion of the local business support and mental health and well-being being moved under a separate consolidated motion. So I commend this motion, this report to council.
Thank you, Councillor Dang. Any other councillor want to speak on this? I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in, Councillor Tarkos. Oh, okay. Sorry, is that just a quick hand? Okay. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll move on to the next one. Also from Mr. Sakurai, would you please speak on the portfolio half-yearly report for January to June this year?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Purpose of this report is for Council to note and update on the key activities of the Council portfolio system during the reporting period from January to June of this year. In terms of highlights across the 11 portfolios this year, we've had 30 portfolio meetings and 119 presentations delivered to councillors. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you for that. Big stats right there. Any questions, councillors? Is there a mover of a motion? Councillor David.
I'll move the motion to read in the report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor David. Is there a seconder? Councillor Borg.
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor David, as the mover, would you like to speak on this motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes. The portfolio report highlights presentations delivered across the 11 portfolios for the year 2002. Thank you to all the council officers who took time to present the portfolio meetings. Their contribution to meetings is vital to success of the program and appreciated by all councillors. Councillors are now well into their 2-year term in their allocated portfolios. Cancellations or postponement of portfolios meetings have occurred at an increased rate than previously. Portfolio meetings continue to significantly disrupted due to the continued impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, the flu season, and other winter illness. Although restrictions have eased because we have continued high number of COVID cases, the preference is still for portfolios meetings to be held using the video conferencing platform Zoom. There are no plans as yet to return to the face-to-face meetings. During the reporting period, 30 portfolios meetings were held. 119 presentations were delivered to councillors. The integration of portfolios, briefings, and council plan, action plan reporting results in benefits to councillors, including increased transparency of council plan implementation, greater understanding of the role and function of the council plan, opportunity to engage with and learn from subject matter experts, greater confidence in work occurring across the organization to implement all council plans actions, and in-depth understanding of the work being carried out and stronger evidence-based guide decisions making. I commend this report to Council, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Borg, as seconder, would you like to speak in this motion?
Just a few words, Madam Mayor, regarding the people portfolio. As usual, the people portfolio is always quite full on, as there are a lot of things happening. Indeed, 17 items were presented for these last 6 months. Some highlights include the library management system upgrade and the enhancement for customers, the Wayfinder project in the library, online children's resources, and Vox books for kids. Also, the Dynamics Young Citizens program, which is continuing to be highly successful. There were also 2 neighborhood houses updates, and I would like to mention one of the highlights regarding the neighborhood houses. I'm referring to the Men's Mental Health Day, which proved to be very, very successful. The guest speaker was the well-known Doug Hawkins, and he delivered quite an impressive speech, and he was highly welcomed. There is also, I think that's all for the highlights for this term. Obviously, there are other highlights, but as usual, I would like to thank all the staff and everyone involved regarding these projects and the involvement with the delivery of the various portfolios. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Would any other councillor like to speak in this motion? Councillor Tarkos.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I've got a few words to say also for the COVID response and recovery portfolio. I'm proud that Council's work is continuing to support residents through the COVID-19 pandemic. Sadly, it's not gone, and numbers and cases of deaths are higher than ever. The number of COVID hospitalisations in the state has increased overall by 83% over the last 3 weeks. On the 14th of July in Victoria, 11,283 new cases were reported, with 777 in hospital and 28 cases in ICU. 20 lives were sadly lost. As of the 15th of July, Brimbank had 1,221 active cases, with 257 recorded on the 14th of June. Our thoughts go out to those people who have lost loved ones. From the 1st of July, most metro outreach services have wound down or ceased. State government funding concluded, and most of the services provided by the what we call PORT, Pandemic Operations Response Team, also had wound down. However, due to the high number of cases and the impact of the BA4/5 variant is causing, Council is still committed to providing a scaled down community connector service to our most vulnerable community members. So, Madam Mayor, that's a real positive that we're continuing that program, because regardless, we really need to keep our community first and foremost in mind and connected. Aged care settings continue to account for the bulk of the outbreaks reported to the Department of Health. Of the 144 outbreaks declared in the week ending 15th of July, 866 residents and staff tested positive. Pandemic order changes took effect from the 12th of July that sees subtle changes since the last changes of 24th of June. Food relief, interestingly, referrals have declined significantly in Brimbank. This may be due to more supports being offered to those in isolation, or the changes to primary and secondary contacts that allows more movements around the home. Brimbank no longer offers neighbourhood walk-ins across the municipality as outreach services have ceased. However, from yesterday, 18th July, Western Health have advised they will open a vaccination hub for walk-ins only at Building 9 Victoria University campus at McKechnie Street in St Albans. The hub will be open Monday, Thursday and Friday from 9:15 to 4:15. Saturday and Sundays 8:15 to 3:15 with free parking. Western Health commenced their in-home vaccination program as of yesterday. Most people are encouraged to go to their local GP or pharmacy. In October 21, the Victorian government announced that 20 new general practice respiratory clinics will be established across Melbourne. 11 of these clinics will be in Northwestern Primary Health Network region. 2 are in Brimbank, in Derrimut and in Sunshine. This is a partnership between primary health networks, state and federal governments, and local primary care providers to support residents who have respiratory issues, including COVID. Work with bicultural workers is ongoing. Fatigue and the impacts of living with COVID has on families. That includes the high cost of living that continues to be an issue for many CALD communities. With winter now upon us, we must remain vigilant, Madam Mayor. We can do this by ensuring our COVID-19 vaccines are up to date and that we are vaccinated against influenza. COVID-safe practices need to be maintained. Finally, I'd like to thank all the frontline workers. Recognising our communities are feeling COVID fatigue means developing cut-through messaging, which is also positive and gives examples of how the community has come together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. Any other councillor to speak in this motion? I'll now put the motion to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. Now we'll move on to the next officer report. I'll now invite Ms. Lily Dumble to speak on the report 1311, the draft Broombank Care Support Plan for 2022 to 2025.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is presented to Council to consider endorsement of the draft Brimbank Carers Support Plan 2022 to 2025 for a period of community consultation, as well as the proposed establishment of a pilot carers hub within the Brimbank Aquatic and Wellness Precinct. Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Dumble, councillors? Any questions? I'll now ask for a mover. Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, firstly, I'd like to thank the council officers for this detailed report. As a carer myself, I fully understand and live day to day the challenges faced by carers. I have a son with...
To move the motion?
Sorry. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I move it. Whoops. Overzealous. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr. Is there a seconder of the motion? Councillor Ball.
I'll move the motion. Thank you. I'll second the motion, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr, would you like to speak?
All right, take two. So I've been looking forward to this because, you know, this is a real passion of mine. And I firstly want to thank the council officers for listening to me and my concerns about the current carers direction. So I'd like to thank all the council officers for this detailed report. As a carer myself, I honestly understand and live the challenges faced by carers on a daily basis. My son suffers from an extreme form of autism, and just the basic things in life, like just going to school, studying, you know, are really difficult. And the thought of just taking him to an aquatic centre takes a lot of planning. So it's really important that carers have access to support and to be simply recognised and acknowledged. And most importantly, they deserve to be respected. When it became clear to me that the Brimbank Aquatic Centre was not going to be equipped to adequately, assist or have a carers hub that was dedicated, I suggested that we run a pilot program at the carers hub at the Killer Downs Community Centre, a place close to the Brimbank Aquatic Centre with the available, transport to get there, but also a little bit quieter than an aquatic centre, because, any parent of a carer with kids with special needs will tell you that they can't just take their kid to a large centre with a lot of noise and a lot of atmosphere. They need a safe place that's quiet, that's easy to get to, that there's dedicated parking, disabled parking. So I'm really happy that this new centre will ensure a dedicated and accessible, flexible space, access to support and educational programs, access to council-funded programs, a carer-friendly meeting place that carers can have dignity in taking their kids, their parents, their friends, their siblings, easy access to the Brimbank Aquatic Centre if they want to go there as well, and also, most importantly, easy access to public transport. I'm very pleased with this development and urge carers in Brimbank to get on board and to contact me directly or council. Please provide us with your ideas, your suggestions, because we need your feedback. We need to walk in your shoes. We need to know, how you feel about things. So this is certainly a step in the right direction for carers in Brimbank. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Seconder, Councillor Book, would you like to speak in this motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to endorse Councillor Kerr's comments regarding the proposed carers hub. And in addition, I would like to add that the carer support plan reflects significant consultation with carers, including consultation with 96 participants, holding a disability action plan carer workshop with 10 participants, and extensive consultation with key stakeholders such as Department of Families, Fairness and Housing, Ethnic Communities Council of Victoria, Carers Victoria, and benchmarking with other councils. The plan is based on the Victorian Carer Strategy 2018-2022 and sets out actions against 5 key priorities which align with the Victoria Carer Strategy, namely health and well-being, supported in school, study and work environments, access support and services that meet their needs, less financial stress, and carers are recognized, acknowledged and respected. The plan has actions linked to each key priority. The actions are set out, timeframes and type of role council will play, which are plan, deliver, partner and advocate. One of the key outcomes is to provide enhanced information awareness and access, and to improve the council website with updated information on programs, services, including respite options and benefits available for carers.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Are there any councillors speaking this motion? Councillor Tarkos.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I think this is really encouraging to read these developments through the Disability Action Plan. Also want to, really express, gratitude towards the council officers, but also, ourselves and Councillor Kerr. I know what she goes through. It's not an easy space to be in when you're a carer. Even the simple things that we take for granted become really complicated. This is really good news that a dedicated space, and having been on the disability committee for many, many years, we've talked about this, developing a dedicated space for people that for carers, and this is coming to fruition, and I couldn't think of a better place that is offers that I guess that not isolation, but to have that separateness from a really overwhelming area that the Borg will be always busy. To have that place where it's a safe space for carers is fantastic. So, and to run those programs from there, peer support programs with easy access to the Borg will be phenomenal. I congratulate the council officers for this in-depth investigation and all the people that have contributed, and recognise how important carers have been to Brimbank. It's something that we don't always estimate, but it's something that's been discussed for many, many years, and I really congratulate and endorse this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parkos. Any other councillors like to speak on this? Councillor Dan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to echo Councillor Kerr, Councillor Bort, and Councillor Tarkos. The carers are people who work hard to support illness or disability family member without payment and receive lack of recognition in the society. Therefore, the Brimbank Carer Support Plan is a great program to support carers in well-being, easy to access support and services, and be recognized and respected. So I would like to thank you, Director Dumbo, and also the team who has worked hard on this plan. I commend this report to Council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dang. Any other councillor speak on this? And I'll put the motion to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Motion carries. We'll now move on to the next report, which is for the draft disability action plan. Ms. Dumble, would you like to present this? Hello, Ms. Dumble.
Thank you. Sorry, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. The Draft Disability Action Plan 2022 to 2026 will guide Council's key priorities and actions to support people with disability to live fully connected and inclusive lives in Brimbank. The draft is presented tonight for Council's consideration to be endorsed and made available for public consultation for a period of 4 weeks from the 26th of July to the 23rd of August. The plan will be subsequently updated and presented at a future council meeting to be considered for adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dumble. Any questions for Ms. Dumble on the Draft Disability Action Plan? No questions. Is there a mover of a motion? Councillor Borg.
I'll move the motion as per business papers.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Kerr.
I second the motion as per the business papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. As Beaver, would you like to speak in this motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Brimbank City Council's Disability Action Plan 2022-2026 will guide Council's key priorities and actions in supporting people living with disability and their carers over the next 4 years. This plan builds on Council's previous 3 plans and incorporates the needs and wants of people with disability and their carers, identified through an extensive community consultation and co-design process. I am very proud of Council's ongoing work in this area. I have witnessed the dedication and commitment officers bring to their role. I congratulate them for their unwavering devotion to improved access and inclusion and advocating for the rights of people living with disabilities. The COVID-19 pandemic is a public health, social, and economic emergency that has impacted every part of society, but especially those with a disability and their carers. They are impacted through social isolation and the vulnerability to physical and mental health issues. Council recognizes the sacrifices its residents have made during the pandemic, particularly people with disability. It is pleasing to note that such an important document has been put together with the collaboration and input of many, including the co-design team. Their contribution through perspectives and life stories has been vital. The teamwork, heartfelt conversations, and enthusiasm in being part of the team has helped shape a plan for people with disability in Brimbank by people with disability. And on a personal note, it's a great pleasure to see this disability action plan coming before us. And I'm also pleased to say that the action plan, as I already mentioned, was co-designed by people with, including people with disability and their carers. I just want to end by saying a quote by one of the participants who took part in the development of this plan. The biggest disability is the disability to see the disability of people, the ability of people with disability. That is a very impressive quote, and it has really impressed me and will always stay with me. And again, I would like to thank Linley Dampole and all the staff involved in the development of this action plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr, seconder, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. I just want to reiterate what Councillor Borg has stated. We're really lucky to be part of a council like Brimbank, and one thing I can vouch for is that Brimbank cares for people with disabilities and for carers. So I'm really proud and honoured to represent a council that has such a high regard for people living with a disability and for their carers. So I just think that the council should be commended, and the officers for really, you know, focusing on this really important issue in our neighbourhood. You know, every second house has a story of someone living with a disability, and this is probably one of the most important things that I can do as a councillor is try and advocate for funding and services for carers and people with a disability. So I just want to thank the officers for actually listening to our action groups, listening to our committees, listening to our residents, and coming up with this, you know, great plan. You know, I just think that one thing that Brimbank gets right is actually, you know, actioning funding and services for people living with a disability. So I just want to just say that thank you to everyone. And, you know, if there's anyone out there listening tonight that has any ideas or suggestions, please reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Any other councillors speak in this motion? Councillor Parkos.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd like to echo those words. I think it's amazing that, you know, we've had this Disability Network Committee for over 10 years. I remember it was one of the first committees that I ever joined on council, even before I was a councillor, as a disability employment worker. And the knowledge and the shared experience on that committee was a real driver for me in learning about all kinds of things, services available, because, you know, when a person wants to find even a wheelchair or, you know, get some information on dementia, you know, the best people that can offer that advice is people with lived experience. And there's a lot of people in Brimbank represented on this amazing committee. And I really commend this report, and I encourage everyone out there to get involved and have their say, because the more comprehensive it is, the more representative and more impact it will have in delivering a great plan for the next couple of years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Parkos. Is there any other councillors like to speak on this motion? I'll put the motion to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to the next report. 13.13 waste reforms, the July 2022 update. Mr. Neil Whiteside, would you like to speak on this?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. At the council meeting on the 14th of December 2021, council received an updating report in relation to the state government's waste reforms proposed from its circular economy policy and resolved to, 1, undertake community consultation on the draft 4-bin preferred residential curbside waste and recycling collection model and receive a further report detailing the outcomes. And 2, approved the introduction of food organics and green organics into the existing optional user pays residential curbside green waste collection service from 1 July 2022. The purpose of this report is to provide council a further update on the waste reforms, including the outcomes of the community consultation and options and analysis in the consideration of the implementation of a 4-bin waste and recycling service. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Whiteside. Any questions here? No questions from councillors. Is there a mover of a motion? Councillor Lancashire. On mute.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move an alternate motion.
So is this your motion that you'd like to move?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I move this alternate motion.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this motion? Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Liu?
Madam Mayor, I just want to, what's the difference between that one and the officers one? I sort of missed that. Was a bit quick.
Councillor Lancashire?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If we could have the motion back on the screen. The difference is in
okay, there you go.
In red, sorry.
Okay. So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Tarkos?
I second the amended recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. So that said, that motion is moved. So Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak on this motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I certainly would. This is a massive report, a massive piece of work, and a very detailed public consultation. And of course, waste is a big part of our budget. It's a big part of our function. It's something that all the councillors have a very keen, and the community have very keen interest in. The key parts of this that are coming out of it is to continue the weekly garbage collection at this stage, continue the fortnightly recycling collection, and continue the fortnightly FOGO collection at this stage. The delay introduction of a new separate glass collection service until the impacts of the proposed state government container deposit scheme are better known. That would seem to be a wise approach, given that there would be 2 means of collecting glass. And of course, receiving a further report on a universal FOGO system so that each house would have a green bin. That's subject to further work for July 23. I think all of these points are very important. The point where there's a variation is to consider options for alternative waste processing as an alternative to landfill. There's some important issues there that we probably need to ponder a little bit more carefully. And that is that the circular economy is something that we are all beginning to understand how valuable that is. It extracts resources to be used in new sunrise industries and creating new jobs. Extracting a valuable resource like this is really important. Simply burning waste is not much better than burning coal and pumping carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Something I've raised for some time is the concern that we're likely to get a carbon tax in the future, and now that seems likely. So that would mean that as well as a tax on waste going to tips, we would then eventually have the West being faced by taxes on carbon dioxide being produced by incineration. I think that's to be avoided. We've had a mistake in the past. Let's avoid this in the future. Let's concentrate on sunrise industries, saving these valuable resources for use and recycling in the circular economy, and avoid burning waste. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Seconded, Councillor Tykos, would you like to speak on this?
Yep, thanks, Madam Mayor. It's great to see that we received 1,000 pieces of feedback for this amazing reform piece. It is, Councillor Lancashire said, it was a huge piece of work, and it was certainly a topic of great interest for the whole of Broombank community. There was a general consensus of support for the 4-bin system, even though at the start it seemed quite overwhelming to people. The goal of separation and greater, which leads to greater recovery of material, meaning less landfilling, with a consensus of, as Councillor Lancashire said, option 1, fortnightly garbage, weekly FOGO, fortnightly recycling, and monthly glass being the most popular option out of the 4 options. It also seems a lot to take in, but like everything, it's an adjustment that we need to make. And I think the state government is doing a fantastic job in pushing these reforms through, because Brimbank has been probably the most impacted by landfills from any other municipality. And if there was any proposal to burn rubbish, I guarantee it would be put in the West. And we have already copped the fumes from landfills, burning landfills that are still burning after 3 years. We need to do something with FOGO, and it needs to be separated and not put in general landfill, because that is the main cause and contributor of greenhouse gases and emissions, is the FOGO. A staged and slow introduction is probably the best way to go, like everything, even with, when we reformed, hard rubbish, it was a real challenge for our community to make that adjustment. But I think a staged and slow and providing education to our community is possibly the best way, and most councils across the board are considering doing that kind of implementation with these reforms. So as Councillor Lancashire said, that we already pay millions of dollars in landfill levy that disappears, and we don't see a lot of it come back in programs like recovery and recycling. So if something like this burning waste concept came through, we would be paying for that as well. And God knows our community has paid enough for landfill levies, millions of dollars over the years, and we don't see any of it coming back to create recycling. So I fully commend the amended motion as per Councillor Lancashire's amended motion. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Tykos. Is there any other councillors who want to speak on this motion? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Thank you. And now we'll move on to the next item for the contract here for number 22/3217, the supply of pool plant maintenance services, Broombank Leisure Centre. Can I please ask Ms. Dunble to speak on this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this contract is for Council's consideration to engage the services of a suitably qualified and experienced contractor for the provision of pool plant maintenance services to Brimbank City Council's leisure centres. The service includes maintenance of the Sunshine Leisure Centre and the Brimbank Aquatic and Wellness Centre's mechanical pool plant. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunble. Any questions here, councillors? Any questions? Is there a mover of the motion? Councillor David?
I'll move the motion as read in the business paper, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor David. Is there a seconder? Councillor Dang.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second it.
David, as the mover, would you like to speak on this motion?
No, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Dang, as seconder, would you like to speak
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
on this motion? If not, I'll put to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to our notices of motion, of which there are 4. And the first one up is from Councillor Takos, the PFAS management at Air Services Australia lease sites. Councillor Takos, would you like to move your motion?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move the motion as per shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Is there a seconder?
Well, Madam Mayor. Just a question for directors, if I could.
Yes, what's the question?
Just regarding, I'm going to be feedback from the directors just regarding the PFAS. Has there been any incident report recently from the Melbourne Airport regarding PFAS?
Eleanor Staines?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, this is not responding to a recent incident report. It is an ongoing issue.
And when was the last time it was to be reported regarding Melbourne Airport, the PFAS incident?
I would have to take that question on notice, and if there was a report, that would be through the EPA.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Staines. Any other questions? Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor Kerr.
I second the motion as per the business papers.
Okay, Councillor Takos says the mover of this notice of motion, would you like to speak on it?
Thank you. Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say that this motion was prompted from a tour that I attended along with a council officer and a resident from Keilor. It's basically to say that the PFAS contamination at Melbourne Airport is a significant concern for my community. A source of this PFAS contamination relates to the historical use of aqueous film forming foam used by Air Services Australia and their predecessors for firefighting activities at the airport, particularly near the Air Services leased site. Council has been advocating on behalf of the local community who are affected by this ongoing and serious PFAS concern, including landowners in the Keilor Market Garden area. There are farmers that go back 100 years in those farms, and that foam used to go down the river many years ago, and there have been high readings of PFAS in the Maribyrnong River that has sprung concern to the community. So Council has been advocating on behalf of the community. Last year, Council wrote to the Minister for Infrastructure, Transport and Regional Development regarding the apparent lack of progress and engagement by Air Services to manage PFAS impacts on its lease sites. 12 months later, there remains an apparent lack of progress by Air Services. And this is not a one-off case, Madam Mayor. It is vital that the Commonwealth enforces compliance by Air Services Australia with regulatory obligations to address this issue at their leased sites and ensure that they are taking the appropriate action to mitigate risks. PFAS contamination must be managed consistently and effectively across Melbourne Airport to ensure the health of waterways in proximity to Melbourne Airport, safeguarding of human health and the environment within Brimbank. This notice of motion seeks to highlight those important community concerns, and they are ongoing, to the attention of the new Minister for Infrastructure and Transport, the Honourable Catherine King, and request that the Commonwealth regulator to apply compliance and enforcement mechanisms to require Air Services to work with Melbourne Airport, of which they lease the land, to meaningfully manage PFAS on their site. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. As seconder, Councillor Kerr, would you like to speak on this motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other councillors want to speak on this motion? I'll now put it to the vote then. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. We'll now move on to the next notice of motion. This is from Councillor Kerr, funding for the Keeler Downs Bocce Club. Councillor Kerr.
Thank you. I'd move this motion as per the business papers.
Thank you. Goes 14.2 on the top right there. Is there a seconder for this motion, councillors? Councillor Lancashire.
Madam Mayor, I second this notice of motion.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Councillor Kerr, would you like to speak on your notice of motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the Keeler Downs Bocce Club is the benchmark when it comes to Keeler Downs and its true community spirit. I remember as a young kid walking down Odessa Avenue and seeing bocce being played. It was great to see the community get together and socialise and exercise. That was in the early 90s when Odessa Reserve was just a patch of dirt. Rewind to 2022, the Keeler Downs Bocce Club is now located at Green Gully Reserve. They have 2 bocce courts beside each other. There are toilets close by, even a lovely barbecue area. However, there's no shelter. The unpredictable Melbourne weather usually means that they can't hold any competitions at the site. The club cannot host competitions as other clubs won't risk the travel without a guaranteed shelter over the courts. They cannot increase and attract new members. They cannot reach their full potential and arrange competitions. Keeler Downs has a lack of sporting clubs and it has a lack of draw cards as it is. This club promotes community engagement, health, well-being, especially with the seniors in Keeler Downs. There's no secret that Keeler Downs has a really aging community. I've lived here since 1986. My parents still live here. My family friends still live here. I ask that councillors support the motion to receive a report detailing the full costings, funding options, funding opportunities and timeframe to secure a full shelter for the Keeler Downs Bocce Club. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. A seconder, Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I would certainly like to echo the comments put forward by Councillor Kerr in this proposal. I've certainly been wandering through this park, through this area and seeing the bocce courts there over a long period of time. I've had the good fortune of meeting people who are playing at those courts, a lovely group of people engaging in what is an interesting sport. I've played bocce myself on occasions. It's good fun. And I think really when you look at this park and how we're evolving in terms of the new access road to our sporting complex at the western end, the improvement to the car parking here, this is another example of where we have an opportunity to provide a facility that is not only great for the people of Brimbank, but will bring competition on a regional scale. And as the centre of the West, that is something Brimbank should always be trying to do. Our leisure centre is another brilliant example of that. This facility lets us down in terms of just having a little cover at each end, which, as Councillor Kerr has rightly pointed out, means that it's not an all-weather facility. Coming back and rebuilding this, or at least getting a report on how we go about it and the costs and timelines, is very valuable to give us an all-weather facility that can operate for these people to have these sort of games occurring. So I would strongly support this and encourage my fellow councillors to support it as well. And thank you, Councillor Kerr, for raising this.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Any other councillors like to speak in this motion? Councillor David.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly, this request, and I congratulate Councillor Kerr for bringing this up in notice of motion. It's been with us for a long time. All they're asking is a shelter, a cover, to help them in rainy days and even summer on a hot sun. And a couple of committee members, every time we happen to meet them, they just run across to give us this request. Please do something about it. So I'm glad that this came before us tonight, and I echo those remarks by both Councillor Kerr and Lancashire, and we should, I think, support this. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor want to speak in this motion? Councillor Tarkos.
Thank you. I'd also like to congratulate Councillor Kerr, because it has been an ongoing concern, and they always say to us how much they enjoy it. And you can really, when you walk past there, feel the passion they have for the game. And there's very little outdoor games, besides bocce, I guess, in various parks, especially for older people that, they want something that's, but the exposure to the sun and the elements is something that really prevents them from, playing at a high level, but also just staying out in the elements. And I think there are a lot of grants that are rolled out by the state government and various governments for covers. And if we can explore if there's something available, perhaps we can partner to provide such a small but significant, important piece of infrastructure for our community to continue enjoying the outdoors and what they're passionate about. Thank you.
Thank you. Speakers for this motion? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Now we'll move on to our second last notice of motion. Changing the name of Sydenham Park from Councillor Lancashire. Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move a motion that Council provides a report on the processes, costs and timelines involved in changing the name of Sydenham Park to an appropriate Aboriginal name suggested by local Aboriginal groups in consultation with Council and the Brimbank community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Is there a seconder? Councillor Rutledge.
I second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lancashire, as the mover, would you like to speak on your notice of motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, we've just had NAIDOC week, and as an observation, each year we seem to put more emphasis on this and celebrate this in a more significant manner. And of course, one of the things that I heard people talking about was how could we do something that gave greater recognition during NAIDOC week. And maybe what this council could do to give greater recognition in this area. This proposal has been around a while, coming up from the community to look at changing the name. As chair of Council's Heritage Advisory Committee, I must admit I haven't been quick to jump at this proposal. I've been very cautious about name changes. However, I certainly have warmed to it, warmed to the idea of doing this. It might be a little bit different, given that it's Robinson's homestead, if it had been called Robinson's Park as a symbol of the colonial settlement of the area. However, that wasn't done. We purchased this several decades back and just gave it a name, Sydenham Park. It's not located near Sydenham. In talking to local historical groups, Aboriginal groups, friends of groups, and other people, it seems to be that there is quite a widespread support for the concept of doing something like this. And as our largest park, and a park that has significant tourism potential for its conservation, golf, future recreation, walks and all the rest of it, with of course that magnificent diamond interchange leading into it. This is our largest most significant park. It's magnificent. We've all been a tour of it and seen the natural beauty. So look, I would recommend this. It's a report. Recommend that we get a report to have a look at this concept. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Councillor Rashich, as the seconder, would you like to speak in this notice of motion?
Thank you. I think Councillor Lancashire summed it up pretty well, but as a proud member of the Brimbank Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Reconciliation Committee, I'm always passionate and happy to support consultation with our First Nation people in order to give more recognition to Aboriginal heritage here in Brimbank. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rashich. Are there any other councillors like to speak in this notice of motion? Councillor Branton.
I have a question, if that's all right. It's probably for a director. I just want to know what work has already been done towards this.
Councillor Brenton, so is the question what work has already been done in relation to the report?
Yeah, I imagine council has already looked into and possibly even had conversations with the Wurundjeri group about possible name changes. I just want to know what that work that has already been done is.
Madam Mayor, I might invite Lindley on to add any additional content that she's aware of, but as far as I'm, thanks, Lindley.
Look, at this stage, we haven't had any discussion with the Wurundjeri Land Council or any other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community about this potential name change. But of course, that would be part of the process if this notice of motion is actually approved and endorsed tonight. But we haven't had any discussion that I'm aware of from an officer's perspective. So thank you.
Okay, so in the development of like the Sydenham Park Master Plan and all of that, it wasn't part of that, even just like in planning, not necessarily already having the conversations with Wurundjeri, but planning to?
We've certainly, and I'll ask Director Whiteside, who may be able to add to this. Certainly with the master plan, we have had discussions with Wurundjeri about the land management of that particular site and the cultural heritage. That has been an important consultation. But my understanding is any name change has not been part of those discussions at this stage.
And I agree with those comments. Yeah, so just part of the development of the Sydenham Park Master Plan, obviously was ongoing discussions around a whole range of facets with Wurundjeri, but not in relation to the name proposal for a name change. So as Director Dumble has indicated, that would be subject to, if this passes, of those discussions to report back to council.
Yeah, okay, cool. Right, thank you.
Any other councillors who want to speak in this notice of motion? Okay, I'll put the notice of motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Now, on the next, this is the last item, 14.4 for the notice of motion, future capital works projects from Council Lancashire. Given the motion may contain information of a sensitive nature, may I please suggest whether we move on motion to discuss this in camera? Council Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I move that it go in camera.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Papalia?
Yes, I second that. Thank you.
Thank you. And okay, Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak on that motion? Or?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
And then Councillor Papalia?
No, thanks.
Thank you. If there are no councillors who want to speak on this motion, I'll just put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That motion carries. So again, all those in favour, please raise your hand. Yeah, I can see all your hands. Thank you. That motion carries. So thank you to everyone who is currently doing the live stream of this meeting. This meeting will now be closed to the members of the public. Well, that is all the notice and motions. Thank you very for your patience. I declare this meeting reopened at 9:22 p.m. And now we're going to move on to the next items. There are no rescission motions. And I please invite Ms. Fiona Blair, our CEO. Is there any urgent business?
Madam Mayor, there is no urgent business.
Thank you, Ms. Blair. And there is no confidential business at the end. So thank you all for attending and for your interest in tonight's meeting. I declare this meeting closed at 9:22 p.m. I instruct the host to stop live streaming this meeting.